Nihilism is a complete and utter moral failure. It's not intelligent and it is not insightful. Nihilism is not honesty. It is what happens when a man sees injustice, suffering, chaos, and death and decides that the correct response is to sit down and fall victim. That decision is not intellectual whatsoever, but it's seemingly a moral decision. Nihilism tells intelligent men that they are too aware to fight, too enlightened to act, and too honest to carry responsibility. But this is one of the biggest lies that culture now teaches us, because the moment you decide that nothing matters, your nervous system collapses, your will degrades, and your soul begins to rot. This is a video to completely debunk, dismantle, and condemn nihilism. We as men and we as people have an innate responsibility to reject nihilism, because nihilism is innately unproductive in all imaginable facets. Even if it is paraded as a sort of wisdom or intelligence or enlightenment, it's actually not true enlightenment whatsoever. It's a complete and utter fabrication and a complete and utter hallucination when it comes to what is intelligent. Intelligence continuously produces a more harmonious and abundant life. Nihilism makes it to where you do not see the benefit in trying and orientating, period. This video is not to sympathize with nihilism. This is a call to reject it. Pick up your cross and stand like a man. Because meaning is not found in comfort. Meaning is found and forged in the fire of chaos. Nihilism is intelligence that refuses duty, and the brain and nervous system become less healthy when you adopt nihilism. Nihilism is what happens when intelligence sees reality but refuses responsibility. The human brain and the human condition is built to pursue goals, solve problems, become more harmonious, and orient towards a higher purpose. When you declare that nothing matters, which is precisely what nihilism is, then you innately remove the target in which you're going towards. Your goals, if you have any under nihilism, become this sort of gelatin fabrication that has no sustenance, because the ideology behind nihilism takes the present scenario that we are all entrapped in and alludes that there's no purpose in trying because everything is already so gone. But that desire for life through death is why humans survive. So nihilism is innately antithetical to the human equation. When you declare that nothing matters, you remove the target. The brain does not relax. The brain panics. The red circuitry activates. Cortisol rises, and motivation then does collapse. And funny enough, Christ warned about this thousands of years before neuroscience even existed. In Matthew 6:23, it states, "If the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness?" Nihilism is intelligence consciously refusing burden and responsibility. So what are some of the actionable steps and things that we could leverage right now that help us conquer this issue? Stop asking yourself, what's the point? And start asking yourself, what is the point right now? What is the responsibility right now? Write down one responsibility today and take action immediately. However, nihilism is one of the first steps of enlightenment. Weak men do not become nihilists because weak men usually never wake up. They stay distracted, entertained, and sedated. They drown suffering in pleasure, noise, and stimulation. Neurologically, this keeps the brain very shallow. Dopamine spikes without meaning. No sustained effort nor growth. Nihilism seems to only appear after awareness, but you need to reach full awareness to get to the spirits that supersede nihilism and that are more true than nihilism. Nihilism appears through awareness when a man sees reality but refuses to carry it. Distraction keeps weak men asleep, and nihilism keeps intelligent men defeated. One thing that we could do to help fix this is cut one major source of numbness out for the week. Social media, and constant scrolling, noise, these different things. It's your duty to observe what is holding you back and what you're numbing with. Try your very best to remove it out of your existence and see how this changes and transforms you in just 1 week. If you sit with silence long enough for the responsibility to return just from removing these sources of numbness, this within itself will be one of the most powerful things that you could leverage to get you closer to truly being yourself and the person that you ultimately want to become. So why does nihilism chemically weaken the brain and the will? Nihilism locks the nervous system into threat mode. The amygdala stays active. Cortisol becomes elevated. Over time, this destroys memory, motivation, emotional regulation, even things like immune function and strength. Pain with meaning is processed as challenge, but pain without meaning is processed as threat. For example, Christ did not teach to run away from pain. He taught to battle it head on. In Matthew 6:24, He says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. This is stating that tomorrow is always going to have its own battle, for this is the process of life and one of the fundamental principles of existence itself. We're going to have to fight, and we're going to have to battle this turmoil. This is the process of adaptation, and this is the process of evolutionary ideology as well. This is the basis in which evolution functions. If an organism does not act to utilize itself and produce something more sustainable for the future, the species dies off. And this is exactly what we're experiencing right now through cynicism and nihilism, pessimism. Chronic fear is not wisdom. It is neurological decay. And we live in a society that tells us that maturation and what it means to be mature is almost a depressive spirit. It's mundane, it's monotone. But in all reality, what really makes somebody mature is being able to have joy and courage in spite of all the wickedness and all the pain. So an actionable that we could leverage is writing down one hard thing you want to do that day and doing it. Difficult conversation, cold exposure, hard training, going for a jog, all these different things that you might be intrinsically uncomfortable with, but you know that there is some sort of advantage or growth potential. Just take these and then try to do them once a day to retrain your nervous system to fight stress without collapse. Meaning is required for an organism to properly function in the world. Meaning is not optional. It is completely necessary. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. Dopamine is a pursuit chemical. Dopamine raises and these different neurosteroids elevate when you suffer for something that is worth suffering for. And we see this throughout the modern neurological literature. Nihilism completely shuts this system down. This innate, adaptive, and evolutionarily backed system falls to pieces when nihilism is introduced. Depression is not mystery, but it is a brain deprived of purpose. Choose one long-term goal that is worth suffering for. Fitness, skill, mastery, family, service. The list is very personal and individualistic, so it's going to be different for you. But just meditate on this quandary and these thoughts for a while. What goal for you is worth suffering for? A lot of the time, you will come to a conclusion that completely resonates with your being. And this is your body's way of telling you that this is a good idea to strive towards. And then structure your days behind this slow pursuit of that aim. Note that this is not going to be instant. This is not instant rewards. This is a very slow process. Nihilism could be thought of as learned helplessness. It's a direct refusal to carry your responsibility and carry your cross, which is something that Christ would say. Learned helplessness occurs when effort feels pointless. Nihilism teaches this explicitly. Nothing matters, so don't act. Why act? Why do anything if nothing matters? You might as well just curl up into the fetal position and have your mama make you dinners each night. You know, it's this line of thought process that completely destroys us. For example, Christ taught the opposite posture. Take up your cross daily and follow me. What Christ is saying is take up your responsibility, take up what you need to be doing as a person, carry your weight each day. Of course, it's going to be painful, but in time, your efforts will bear fruit. And even if you don't, you're still carrying the weight of yourself, meaning that others aren't going to have to pick up your slack. And even just that, as a simple thought, might be enough to get you by. Responsibility is not oppression. Responsibility is what forges men. And we today feel so entitled to get curated and protected and raised and provided by the government or the broad society or other people. This lie has been deeply instilled in us from a very young age. It's a lie that carries such a pungent spirit of narcissism. To be a man is to fight. That's what it is. So nihilism is one of the least masculine traits you could possibly have. Nihilism, cynicism, pessimism, they are all extremely beta traits. And I don't like using those words like beta or whatever it is. But just to get my point across, if you're a nihilistic person or you're very pessimistic, these are extremely lame and extremely weak traits and emotions to be inhabiting. So if you are, just realize that you have one life. Would you like to fall victim to your thoughts and to reality around you? Or would you like to be a powerful person and pick yourself up and do what is hard? In all actuality, you really only have these two lanes to go down. Which one do you choose? One actionable and fix that alleviates this situation is take responsibility for something that scares you, a commitment, a duty, a promise, and keep it even when motivation disappears. Why fighting for meaning is what makes a man a man. It's because masculinity is not dominance. It is responsibility under pressure. And this spirit that you inhabit thus could create more dominance, but masculinity is not dominance itself. It's not the pursuit of dominance. It's the pursuit of alleviating stress for others. That's really what masculinity is. A man is defined by his willingness to stand in suffering and act anyway. For example, Christ spoke this without apology. In John 16:33, he states that in this world we will have trouble, but take heart. It's such a simple quote, but it's ridiculously powerful. And that is not reassurance. It is literally a call to arms. It's a call to battle. Stop waiting until you feel ready. If you keep doing that, you will never go anywhere. What we need to do is act while we're afraid. Because if we wait until we're not afraid anymore, on your deathbed, you're going to realize you were always afraid and you just waited. Courage is not absence of fear. It is obedience despite it. Choosing to fight is the only cure for nihilism. Nihilism is refusal to stand. I hope we could all see the volition and why I'm quoting scripture so much. Matthew 5:16, Christ himself states, "Let your light shine before others." Light is action. Light is discipline. Light is confronting darkness instead of surrendering to it. Ask yourself daily, where can you bring order instead of just commentary? Or instead of just standing there, what can you actually do to create a more magnificent world, a more healthy existence for you and others? And whatever that is, do it before the sun goes down. Continue this process and you will completely revolutionize yourself and your sense of identity. And you may even start to love yourself even more than you do now, which if you're somebody entrenched in the spirit of nihilism, you may not love yourself too much. I know I didn't. I was a complete atheist. A complete nihilist, one of the worst you could possibly come across. And I'm telling you, from the depths of my being, if you keep being nihilistic, it will hurt you. The biggest call that you and I as men, or even you and I as people, could do right now is do what makes you uncomfortable. Take your responsibility. Because if you don't do it, either somebody else has to. And if they don't pick up your slack, then we're just going to be more held back, period. Why does discipline and voluntary hardship kill nihilism at the root? Not even kill. It brutally annihilates it. Nihilism survives in comfort. It's almost like a parasitic spirit, but nihilism dies in discipline. Men who suffer on purpose do not ask if life has meaning because their suffering is aimed. What we can do is adopt one non-negotiable piece of discipline, whether that's early rising or training, fasting, improving your work ethic, all these different things. Again, it's going to be individualistic towards you, but adopt this discipline and keep it even when no one is watching. This stuff is very individualistic and we're all pretty different people. So what works for me or what works for Sam down the street might and probably will be a totally different thing from you. But the similar broad spirits and broad phenomenons and principles will apply to you. It's just in what way, shape, or form will they? Responsibility to others is the final antidote to nihilism. Nihilism could be thought of as inward despair, and meaning could be thought of as a sort of outward responsibility. Men endure suffering not for themselves, but for those who depend on them. What we can do is make yourself necessary. Serve someone, protect someone, provide for someone. The list goes on. A man with people depending on him literally cannot afford nihilism. So set yourself up in this way. If nihilism, cynicism, and all these negative spirits is something that you continuously battle with, when people start to count on you, you become innately less narcissistic, less egotistical, because your comfort takes second place, third place, fourth place, or maybe not even on the list at all. Nihilism is what happens when a man refuses the cross. And refusing the cross is what happens when the spirits of nihilism are abundant. It's a cyclical cycle in this regard. Meaning is what happens when you lift the cross, when you lift your responsibility. You were not made to be a spectator of chaos. None of us were. You were made to confront chaos. So here's the call to action. It's not gentle, it's not optional, it's necessary. Stand up, carry weight, tell the truth, and fight for order amongst the chaos. Because the man who fights for meaning, even when bleeding, is already victorious. That decision to fight instead of withdraw is what makes a man a man. And without further ado, I hope everybody enjoyed this video. If you have any replies or comments or anything that you want to spit at me, just put them in the comments below and I'll definitely respond back to them and all that jazz. I hope everybody has a good day, good week, good month, good year, and I will see you in the next one. If you're having a hard time, just keep your head up. I promise it gets better. I almost schmoiked my doink a few times, if you know what I mean. Mostly because of nihilism, actually. So I feel like this video is very